Hi friends, good morning. Welcome to AKS IAS. This is Dr. Harinath Reddy. Happy Independence Day to all of you. Today we are celebrating the 79th year of independence. And the Constitution has been under operation for the last 75 years. So this is the context in which we need to look at how the Constitution of India has been worked out in the last 75 years. And before we get started, let me introduce to yourself the concept of living document. See, the Constitution of India is called a living document, a living constitutional document. And why do we say that the Constitution of India is a living document? See, the Constitution of India has endured for 75 long years. According to a study done by a scholar and a professor from Chicago University, the average lifespan of a constitution at the global level is only 17 years. Despite this, Indian constitution has survived for 75 long years. And this is an impressive achievement given the background that even Soviet Union in its 74 years has changed the constitution almost 4 times. If you take France, which took birth after the French Revolution in 1789 as a modern democracy and constitution, it has changed the constitution almost 5 times between 1789 and 1954. Even our neighborhood, Nepal, has changed the constitution 5 times. Pakistan has changed it 6 times. Sri Lanka has changed it 3 times. So given this background, the constitution having survived for 75 long years is a great achievement, not a mean achievement. Under the concept of constitution as a living document, Indian constitution is called as a living document because it has got the enormous inbuilt flexibility to change according to the changing circumstances, making itself a relevant document. Like an organism, if it adapts to the changing circumstances, it can continue or it will perish. According to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, those organisms which adapt to the changing circumstances of the environment will survive, otherwise they will perish. On the same lines, the Constitution of India, it is capable of adapting to the changing circumstances because of the inbuilt flexibility. For example, while speaking to the Constituent Assembly, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, the Constitution of India is a flexible, workable and a strong constitution to keep the country together during peacetime and even during the wartime. So the Constitution of India can become unitary when there is emergency and it remains federal during normal times. This does not need any formal amendment. So this is the beauty of the flexibility of the Indian Constitution. So Granville Austin had a lot of appreciation for the unique amending method which is provided for in the Indian Parliament. See, the Constitution of India is also made a living document because of Article 368. Article 368 empowers the Indian Parliament to amend the Constitution by using its constituent power. Similarly, the Constitution is also made a living document by the Supreme Court of India, which is the final protector and interpreter of the Indian Constitution. The Supreme Court, by using its power of interpretation, is trying to give new meaning to the Constitution of India in the light of changed circumstances. That makes the constitutional document more relevant to the changing circumstances. For example, in the recent past, the Supreme Court has given a number of judgments like decriminalizing homosexuality, legally recognizing the same-sex couple, and also decriminalizing adultery, etc., etc. So this is how the Constitution of India is made a living document. So by the power under Article 368, we can amend the Constitution to suit to the changing circumstances. The Supreme Court of India will play its own role by interpreting the Constitution in the light of the changing circumstances. That's why the Constitution is a living document. And it has survived for 75 years. I am very sure that it will survive for the next 75 years. Then what is the significance of the Indian Constitution? As you know, India is the world's largest democracy. And India has got the longest written constitution. And many people had a lot of appreciation for the Constitution of India. For example, Nelson Mandela from South Africa, he said that the Constitution of India is a beacon of hope for all the countries across the globe. Even Rajendra Prasad, the president of the Constituent Assembly, also said the Constitution of India is a model for the other countries in the world to emulate. In addition to this, a British historian said that the Indian Constitution strikes a fine balance between modern values and the traditional values. And in addition to this, Granville Austin said, Indian Constitution is a social document. This Constitution is a commitment for social revolution with peace and stability. So that's the greatness of the Indian Constitution. And remember, the Constitution of India was made a very lengthy document because there are several reasons. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says that without changing the form of the Constitution, by merely changing the form of administration, the Constitution can be converted into an authoritarian regime. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar does not want the Indian Republic to fail. So he wanted detailed provisions to be included in the Constitution of India so that the Indian Republic will not face any problem. That's one reason why the Constitution of India became a lengthy document. And remember, in the beginning, when the Constitution came into force, there are 150,000 votes in the Indian Constitution. If you compare this with United States of America, it has got merely 4,400 votes. Even if you take countries like Germany, it has got less than 20,000 votes. And the Constitution of India was made in such a way that it suits to the requirements of India. So we became a parliamentary democracy because India is a country with a lot of diversity. Parliamentary democracy, it provides for sharing of political power among diverse social groups. So this meets the aspirations of diverse social groups, thereby keeping the country united. India became a federal constitution because it allows for division of executive and legislative powers territorially between the central and the state governments. So if the regional governments had a share in the political power, it will meet the sub-national aspirations and thereby it promotes national unity. In addition to this, we wanted to establish India as a secular nation state. We all know that secularism as an idea, it speaks about equal freedom and rights to the people of different religious faiths. So if equal rights are given to all the Indians, they will be more loyal to the Indian nation state, thereby protecting the unity and integrity of India. Unlike several classical federations, then the framers of the Indian Constitution made the Indian Constitution, of course, federal, but with a strong center. But the federal constitutions which prevailed then had a weak central government. But the framers of the Indian Constitution, with an intention to promote national unity, they provided for a strong center within the federal setup. That's one more important measure which was taken. Then the idea of single citizenship is again to promote national unity by promoting the sense of common brotherhood among the people of this country. Like this, every provision was carefully inserted in the Indian Constitution to suit it to the requirements of Indian conditions. So this is the significance of the Indian Constitution. Then what are the goals which the Constitution of India has attempted to achieve? So the goals of the Indian Constitution, they are laid down in the preamble. So preamble speaks about achieving justice, economic, social and political. It speaks about achieving equality of status and opportunity. It also speaks about achieving liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. It also speaks about promoting fraternity and protecting the dignity of the individual. So these are the goals which are laid down in the Indian preamble. Then if you see what is the extent to which these goals have been achieved in the last 75 years, if you take the first one, universal adult franchise. From the day the Constitution has come into operation, all the adult citizens of this country, irrespective of caste, gender, religion and ethnicity, they are given the right to vote. This is a remarkable incident and it is a radical initiative taken by the framers of the Indian Constitution. In other words, it is an adventure on the part of the framers of the Indian Constitution to provide for universal adult franchise. Because even in United States of America, which is a developed country, there all the people did not get the right to vote from the commencement of the Indian Constitution. from the commencement of the American Constitution. In America, the women got the right to vote in the 1920s. In America, the blacks, both men and women, got the right to vote in 1965. So compared to countries like United States of America and even UK, where women were given the right to vote in 1928 after decades of struggle, without all of that, the Constitution of India has given universal adult franchise, the right to vote for all the adult citizens. And this is an indication of a remarkable faith on the common man from the framers of the Indian Constitution. And they stand vindicated, because in the last 75 years, the people of this country, by exercising their right to vote, have thrown out those governments which have not performed. They have brought back to power those governments which have continued to work well. So the weapon of the right to vote is very properly utilized by the people of this country. And then when it comes to the meeting of the goals of the Indian Constitution, see, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, liberty, equality and fraternity, they form a trinity. So one without the remaining two will make democracy meaningless. So all the three are required. And B.R. Ambedkar says, liberty without equality will result in supremacy of the few over the many. And equality without liberty will kill the initiative of the individuals. And liberty and equality without fraternity will not help in promoting national unity. All the three are equally important. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had expressed apprehensions that the Indian society is essentially an undemocratic society. That's why he said, democracy in India is a top dressing on Indian soil which is essentially undemocratic. So the Indian society is divided on the lines of gender, caste, religion, region and ethnicity. So B.R. Ambedkar had a lot of fears about achieving the goal of fraternity. So when it comes to equality, by abolishing untouchability and by taking up the policy of reservation for tribals, Dalits, OBCs and economically weaker sections, the goal of equality is promoted to a great extent. Even the liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship is greatly promoted through Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, which guarantees fundamental rights, a set of fundamental rights which are enforced by the Supreme Court and High Court against the Indian state. But when it comes to fraternity, we are still doing the work in progress. See, the policy of reservation, though it promoted the ideal of equality, the caste has become much more rigid, and because of this, the goal of achieving fraternity has become a difficult task. That's why Deepankar Gupta, a noted sociologist in this country, he says that caste has not been erased in modern India. The identity of caste has become much more strong, and this may become a barrier for achieving the ideal of fraternity. In addition to this, according to Myron Weiner, an American political scientist, he says that Indian democracy was a success to a great extent. He gives the reasons like peaceful transfer of power, elections very regularly, and competitive political parties, and then the elected government is truly in power and accountable to the people. So by these yardsticks, Myron Weiner says that Indian democracy was a huge success compared to many countries in its neighborhood which have switched over to authoritarian regimes. So these are the goals which are achieved to a great extent, and there are some problems as well. Then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also said that however good a constitution may be, it will turn out bad if those who are asked to work it happen to be bad. Similarly, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also said, even a bad constitution can turn out to be good if those who work on it happen to be good people. That's the reason why he provided for a long details of administration in the Constitution of India to ensure that Indian Republic works well. He also says that we are going to enter into a period of contradictions. In the political sphere, we are going to have equality, one man, one vote, one value. But in economic and social sphere, we are going to witness inequality. So how long a nation will continue with these contradictions? So even today in the economic and social sphere, the principle of equality continues to be a work in progress, and there was not adequate progress in this direction. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also said, political democracy in India cannot last unless there is at its base economic and social democracy. And then what are the challenges before the Indian constitution today? Especially in the last 10 years after the BJP has come to power, there are several problems. Remember, even in the beginning, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh and Jana Sangh, the earlier form of BJP, they rejected the constitution in its root and branch because it is made in a foreign language with Western values. But in course of time, Mohan Bhagawat, the chief of RSS, says that we owe allegiance, loyalty to the constitution of India, we will protect it. And even Narendra Modi in 2016, when he made an address to US Congress, he said the constitution of India is the holy book for him. So organizations like RSS and Janasangh, which earlier rejected the constitution, now are endorsing the constitution. Despite all said and done, BJP as a political party is posing a threat to several values of the Indian Republic. See, socialism and secularism, BJP political party wanted these words to be removed from the preamble. The matter went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said it is not necessary to remove the words secular and socialism from the preamble. The Supreme Court has explained socialism is all about the establishment of a welfare state and achieving an egalitarian society. So it doesn't need to be removed from the preamble. And when it comes to secularism, it said the freedom of religion for all the people of different faiths is clearly laid down in the constitution from articles 25 to 28. So what is implicit was made explicit in 1976 through the 42nd Amendment by inserting in the preamble the word secular. So Supreme Court did not agree with the removal of the word secular from the preamble. In addition to this, increasing polarization for vote bank politics on the grounds of religion is posing a threat to Indian Republic. In addition to this, there is increasing undermining of independent constitutional authorities under the present BJP regime. So recently we have witnessed Rahul Gandhi finding fault with Election Commission of India, the way the elections are conducted in the last 10 years. And Election Commission of India, which has otherwise done a very good job in conducting free and fair elections and promoting democracy, is now coming under dark scanner. So it is being questioned for the policies which it is taking up. Even there is increasing pressure on the Indian judiciary. Media is being pressurized by the party in power. Even the parliament, which has to be a forum for deliberations, was made a rubber stamp. So these are the threats before the Indian Republic. Then what is the way forward? See, as rightly said by Shashi Tharoor, the final protectors of any constitution is the people of that particular country. So in India, as long as people are ignorant, illiterate and not educated, protecting the Constitution of India from majoritarian parties in power becomes very difficult. So in India, it is necessary that the values of the Indian Constitution have to be imbibed in every person in this country. That can be done through education. If all the people in this country had access to quality education, and if through education we can imbibe the values of Indian Constitution in the minds of every people who take birth in this country, and once the citizens become informed and enlightened, it is more easy to protect the Constitution of India and the Indian Republic. And this was very clearly witnessed in the 2019 protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. People across the country, they came onto the streets, they started reading from the preamble and they started giving slogans to protect the Indian Republic. So this must be taken forward to a great extent. In addition to this, the media should continue to remain independent and bold to expose the excesses of the executive and the legislative branches. In addition to this, the judiciary must continue to remain independent and strong enough to face the excesses of the executive and legislative branches. And we need reforms in the Indian Parliament, because in countries like Germany, every day in a week the agenda is set by the political parties in opposition. So if adequate opportunities is given to the parties in opposition to speak out, then that can also play an important role in protecting the Indian democracy. We also need strong social movements and civil society movements to protect Indian Republic. So these are the ways in which we can protect Indian Republic. And remember, last but not the least, when we conduct ourselves on daily basis, we must imbibe within ourselves the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. So when we deal with members of the family, other members of the society, democracy should become a way of life. The ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity, dignity, they must inform us on our day-to-day life. Unless this transformation happens, protecting the Indian Republic and Indian democracy is not easy. So I would urge all the Indians in this country to pay loyalty to the ideals which are laid down in the Constitution of India and to strive towards achieving these ideals in the Indian Constitution. So thank you and Jai Hind.